Hello. Well, a new update has dropped for space engineers, and that means it is time to work on my Star Destroyer again. Because with every new update, there's more to add. Like, for example, these new windows. Aren't they just pretty? And they look a lot more like Star Destroyer windows. These are the new, what are they called? Bay. They're the Bay windows. Although I'm using them as the front of my Star Destroyer. Then we've got the trusses with the truss decoy, which make for great radio antennas. And I did not add any of the small antennas to this. Yeah, we've got a new compact antenna, which you can literally just slap on top of one of these cylinders, or a couple of these cylinders, to make a new antenna. I've already got 2 antennas on this thing, so I don't really need a third one necessarily. So the decorative antenna's fine. And as far as the there we go. You can add these, which are the truss lights. They serve no practical purpose whatsoever. But there's something you can stick on there to make it look more antenna-like. Neat. Alright, but is that the best part of this update? The signal update really doesn't have much, and honestly, like I said, paid DLC is actually where it's at. Paid DLC this time actually includes some of the single most important parts you will ever find in the game. And that is these, the corridor. The decorative corridor blocks are both decorative and highly functional, and give your ship a more ship-like feel. You can use them for a variety of purposes, including your stairs. Like, for example, this is the corridor T intersection that I have stuck one of the inset lights directly above, so that despite the fact that this is not a lit block, it has light going to it. This is the corridor X intersection. Takes you to the computer room, which now I'm going to have to add even more stuff to. But that's just one of the many uses for the corridor blocks. They fill out a very niche category of your design in the fact that they have all 4 sides covered, making them the perfect thing for making extensions to your ships. Nothing here. Nothing to see here. The next, well, once again, I've adjusted it to where it uses the corridor blocks where I used to have the passageway. The next best update, or the next best thing to the update, is the consoles. Finally, Colt's command and control panels have been added to the base game with the decorative consoles. This is another thing in the paid DLC. This is the best thing in the paid DLC, because you can finally make your Star Destroyer bridges look like Star Destroyer bridges by having dozens of consoles and seats and switches and buttons and places for people to stand. This is by far the single coolest thing that they could have added to the base game. And as you can see, there is the window blocks beyond this. So they're a great addition to my windowed wall. Like I says, the corridor block is absolutely broken. You know what? I think I'm going to replace this with one too. Because now I can put a lit corridor block here, which serves as a block to ensure that other thing I can do is add this scaffolding block here. Oh, snap. I completely forgot I removed that. Put that back. My command chair. I accidentally removed it when I was modifying some stuff. I completely forgot I did that. Now, come to think of it, I could do something completely different. Now that there's those narrow blocks, what I can do is the narrow door can go there, and then I can take the stowage block, which has some personal stowage, and now neat. This makes the half stairs more versatile. Let's see. Honestly, like I said, the decorative blocks fixed so many issues, although there is... Why are you there? You do not belong there. I'm going to have to go over to the other side and check the other side now. I keep finding these little glitches in the matrix here. That's the problem with building something this ridiculously big. You can't always guarantee that what you were constructing is exactly 100% matched on the other side. Well, yeah, anyway, back this way. Boop. This adds a completely new dimension to a completely different project. Because now we have consoles for our ships, including this small 3-button console block, which can allow us to control 3 different things while it's active, instead of just having the single button. So yeah, I even added one out here to control both the door, to control the hinges, the mag plate, and the door itself. without having to build, or without having to press multiple buttons or create weird groupings. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, need to go up here. That's the problem with building something that causes seem too complex and performance issues. While that's doing that. Now this has added a completely new way of building your internal structures. Because now it no longer is simply just, oh, well, you can have this, or this, or this. When the game originally started, this was the only control seat you had. This right here. Then they added this one in, the flight control seat. This was also the only chair you could get. This was added in a much later update. So these three things were the only large grid control seats you had. And originally, this was the only cockpit you could have. They added this, the helm. I'm sticking that there just for, the sake of adding it. Although the fighter cockpit was actually the second cockpit added, but that's not available here. More use of the use of the trusses. This is one of the things you can use the trusses for, because they can serve multiple purposes. Oh, and these are the new scaffolding frame blocks, which are a godsend for when you're building stairs like this, because now you finally have some filler space for this stuff. And also some safety railing. Still no 2x2 though. Plus, this makes your CICs look a lot more interesting when they no longer are bound by having just blank space. It can actually look like some kind of command and control center. Plus, like it says, it does add a wonderful way of making your stairs more functional. And filling in a lot of empty gaps. Whereas before, you would only have the passage panels. Technically, I could fill this entire area with just double-decker conveyor, or double-decker passageways. just single-decker passageways. Nothing to see here. That's just the stormtrooper barracks. Although, I do have to say that the physics engine has been kind of effed up by the latest update. Oh, it also helps in building rooms, because you can now build them slightly wider by having the walls of the corridors serve as your room walls. And this is the narrow door, the half-block narrow door, allowing you to create your crew quarters a little bit more personal. And make your officers' quarters a bit more interesting. Really show the difference in class there. These new blocks can be used in a lot of ways that you couldn't use some of the older ones. Another fine example of how these can be used. Give me a second to actually get out of here. So I can get out the doors. I don't have automatic doors. Why do I have 3 doors here? I do not know. But I do. Alright. Allow me to demonstrate another method of using the passage blocks. A Nebulon B frigate. As you know, they have these long necks. Originally, there was no way to build these necks without having blocks underneath. I have blocks underneath, but I don't need them anymore. I actually built those so that they can hold the thing together. Block, the neck of the Nebulon B is actually transversible, meaning I can get to this cargo container in the back, which gives me access to the entire back of the ship to deploy fuel or any other resources that I need fuel or ammunition for the guns or the engines. And it gives me direct access to the cockpit, thus making the ship more complete, thus turning it into an actual ship instead of a novelty. You see, the original design was made by GAR or AAA. Let me check real quick. Yeah, I believe it was this version. This version is 99% static. This is the only accessible point on the entire ship. So this entire vessel, this entire section up here, all this, just blocks. There is literally nothing here. In fact, you could literally just cut this ship off right here, and it would change absolutely nothing. There would be no value lost if this entire section was just cut off. There's no piping in here. There's no command bridge in here. There's no storage in here. There's no pipe work going from the back to the front. In fact, there is literally no way to access any of the pipe work. So unless you're playing this thing in blah, 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 creative, nothing's going to work. Because you've got no way to refuel it, no way to do any actual work on it. And the cockpit isn't even piped up to be air capable. So this thing is completely different from this one, which at least has accessibility to it. I could probably make it piped up if I really wanted to, or at least put in some pipe work to make it semi-functional. But as it stands, that's, you know, not really important. Oh yeah, and I added an antenna. The other one didn't have one. I also have my modified version of Gin's Nebulon B frigate, the Imperial Nebulon B frigate. Which, much like this one, I added the necessary paneling to, and the same functionality to it. This one also uses the passage blocks and has a hidden gravity generator and an actual cockpit. Cargo container to give you access to all of the additional equipment. A single port window and 2 doors instead of 1. Overall, I think this one is a moderate improvement to this one. Oh, I also added actual solar panels to it, as opposed to the Fox ones that this one has. You know, now I'm happier. It has actual solar panels on the bottom. Why? No reason whatsoever. It just has them. So while these were designed by someone else, I have modified them pretty extensively to bring them in line. In fact, you can actually see the gravity generator shoved in there. We need to do something about that. Or not, it doesn't really matter. I modified them to bring them in line with my construction philosophy, I guess you could say. Which is to say, to bring them in line with this abomination. Now, the signal update, if I was any good at setting things up, I would set up the signal update to allow me to start launching these things. There are dozens of slots for these tiny, tiny little ties that I could hook up to the signal generator. I also have the other tiny, tiny little ties, which are actually pilotable. Yes, I have pilotable tiny, tiny ties. I did this to try and make them semi-in scale with the rest of the ship, but they're just adorable. They're just adorable little TIE fighters. Fully functional. And adorable. They're so stupid. Oh yeah. It also allowed me to update my, I guess you could call it lower... What do you even call this? My observation deck? My planetary bombardment center? Not entirely sure what you would describe that as. However, there is something that aggravates me to no end. This is something that has been a problem since the armor panel update. And it is something that they seriously need to fix. What is it, you ask? Why do we still not have this angle armor panel? Why? 45-degree angled button panel. Just like that. Just 45-degree angle. That's all I'm asking. Just a 45-degree button panel. Nothing extraordinary, nothing fancy. Just a button panel that's at 45 degrees. Because there are so many places that need one. Anyway, aside from that, the new update has added, well, the paid DLC has finally added several things that this game has needed for a very, very long time. Things that should have been part of the base game, but weren't. Although now, one of the things that I really wish that we had was a... How big is this? Block, or an 8-block hanger door. An 8-block airtight hanger door. Or 2 4-block ones. Or even a 4 and a 3, or even a 5 and a 3-block one. Just a couple different sizes of hanger door. Because while this works, my Lambda shuttle can't get through it. It's too big. So I had to remove this entire hanger door section right here just so this could fly. Not that I regret removing blocks, because, let's face it, this thing's a monster. It is huge. I really do need to remove blocks from it, just so that it stops taking up so much resources. But that is really hard to do, because I like it. I like adding things to it. It's big, chunky. But that's how I feel about the new Signal update. Honestly, the DLC pack contains a lot more value per product than the actual free stuff, and I like it. I don't know why that block was a different color, but it was for some reason. This thing is scary if it was coming at you. And imagine if this monstrosity was coming at you. Just this looming monstrosity. Now you're probably going to say, oh, well, I'd just aim for the bridge. Destroy that big bridge target right there, and the whole thing's useless. Yeah, except for the fact that the bridge only has a few guns on it, and it's also way back at the back here, meaning you would be in range of all these guns and all these guns long before you get in range to fire that shot on the bridge. Plus, unlike actual Star Destroyers, I have bridge defense guns. As well as a variety of other anti-aircraft guns at the back of the vessel. But even without those, I also have some point defenses at the front of the vehicle, or towards the front. And I have even more guns that you would have to get by, including several point defense guns, at the very front. And you want to attack it from below? Oh, well, guns. Guns everywhere. Point defense guns. You get close to the hangar, more point defense guns. More guns everywhere. Just guns. Guns everywhere. The only safe place to attack is from the rear, and even on the rear, more guns. There are more guns on the rear of the vehicle. The only safe place to attack is probably like this blind spot here. And even then, you've still got cannons on the bottom that could basically at least be trying to hit you. Unless you're trying to trench run. And the problem is the trench on this thing isn't very deep. I mean, you've got this massive space right here where you could try and sneak in and fire off a couple shots, but you've got more guns. And there's even some point defense guns down here, hidden in the trench. So even if you were to sneak in to the trench run, you'd still have to contend with more weapons. That's just escape pods, that doesn't count for anything. Like I said, this thing would be very difficult for your average Rebel forces to attack. Because unlike your standard Star Destroyer, I included point defense guns on mine. And with as much firepower as this thing's got, you had better hope that your fighter is flying really fast, because otherwise it's just going to be obliterated. Of course, then, just in case that wasn't bad enough, we have this, my escort cruiser, which has point defense guns, main cannons, lots of main cannons, some auxiliary cannons, but mostly just big guns. This is a typical Imperial support ship, namely designed with additional firepower in mind. Then there is even more support firepower in the forms of this Arquintan's support cruiser. So if we were to have a full-on fleet, there'd probably be about 3 of these, 6 of these. And probably about 8 or 9 of these for every 1 of these. That would be the main flagship, and then this would basically be the support fleet escorting it. Well, I'd say, let's say 4 of those, 6 of those, 8 of those for every 1 of these. I think that's a pretty balanced fleet. I do love the design of this thing. It's my longest running and by far best work overall, since I originally designed it to be a traditional Star Destroyer, just an ordinary one. I actually used a Star Destroyer model to design the upper deck, but then I completely failed at this section, as you can tell, since this is about the 12th iteration of it. Not to mention I have the Revangelist and the Zillifer, as well as the traditional Assault Star Destroyer. You can still find the Assault Star Destroyer on Steam. I have occasionally had to re-download it because this abomination caused issues. Boop. One thing people probably don't know about, I have an entrance all the way up here. I don't remember why I did that. That looks stupid. Oh. That's why I did it. Huh. Well, you learn something new every day. I do not know what I was thinking when I did that. I don't even think I was thinking. I'm just gonna go ahead and fix that real quick. Really dumb. I don't remember why I did that, but that's fixed now. All right. This was my original prototype of a tank. This thing is a horrible abomination, and I regret ever building it. Especially since this is light armor, this is heavy armor. I don't remember why I switched halfway through. I've got heavy armor bits, I've got normal armor bits, or light armor bits. It's a horrific abomination that I half built years ago. I built a lot of tanks. Oh yeah. Here's an old design. I used to have a bunch of these in the design, in the hangar in the back. I think I still got a couple parked there. These were drone starfighters, and now I could actually make them drones. Completely autonomous. And have them escort my Star Destroyer. I would have to completely gut and rebuild them, though. And that is a colossal pain. So, probably not going to do that anytime soon. Maybe later. There is no gravity on this part of the ship. Gravity starts here. I still have not figured out what to do with this massive amount of empty space here. I put some reactors here in case someone decides to destroy or decides to blow out the neck of the ship. Like, for example, if someone were to cut off this entire section of ship, just slice it off or blow it off with either a ram or a railed Gatling gun, then this section of the ship would basically still function. The cannons would still function. I need to put some cargo in here so they can hold some ammunition. One of the things I added to this thing is the escape pods. I could now fully automate these, but I already attempted it once and it didn't quite work out well. They do have full functionality. Thrusters in every direction, they've got parachutes, everything's all plugged in, they just need to be loaded up. Yeah, see, I still got a bunch of these just kind of crammed in here, as well as my original space mining vessel. All these were drones that I created in order to, that could be controlled using the radio block. I need to rearm them and rebuild them. Especially now that there's newer blocks that I can use to update the design. There's a bunch of these. There's space. I built space for a whole heaping helping of those. I've got enough space for like 72 of them. Because I've got like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 here. And I've got a rack of 3, 6, 9, 12, 16, or 15, 18, 21, 24. I've got 24 here, plus those up there, plus I think like another 24 over here. I got a lot. Maybe not 72. I could fit 72 of them, but I've still got extra hangar space where I could put like 2 more racks in here. I could fit another rack in here. I used to have a little storage bay back here, a maintenance bay back there, but unfortunately, with the loss of my original model, all that's gone. So I'm kind of at a loss. But now we don't need this block anymore, which is just a ground down window. Still need this one though, which is also a ground down window. Oh yeah, these. I've completely forgot about these. This is another cool block they've added. It's kind of a cross between a passage block and a wall block. They're a great decorative block to add to your hull so that you can, you know, make it look a bit more unique and interesting. Plus, they're designed to go with the the new window block. Basically, you can have these leading into it. Anyway, I think that's enough for my review of the new update, as well as the new blocks. They're really neat. I like them. They're still missing some key ones that I really, really want. But they have introduced some new blocks to fill in for the slots that I need. After all, the rounded blocks I'm going to need to fix that. It's this one. Stop floating away, M3 Lee. Also, for some reason, the new update messed up how these operate. I had this low enough that I could actually cover it with an entire set of flat blocks, but after the update, for some reason, that didn't work anymore, and I don't know why. Just a minor issue I encountered. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my look at the new update and all the fancy stuff that came with it. Have fun and enjoy. Now, how do I end this thing? What button did I press?